Good day, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm very excited to present to you guys today. Usually when I make this presentation, I talk about reducing risk and cost while saving time with prefab grease duct. But we don't have time for that. Today, we just want to make sure you know that they leak and we don't, and that is the number one issue. There's plenty of benefits for everyone to go around. Everyone wins with prefab grease duct, and we live, design, and install best practices. Perhaps you've seen this sign. Right now, there's more work than welders. And in a plug and play world, we don't have enough labor. There's not enough quality welders. And in a union study, they said that would be short about 375,000 skilled welders by 2023. That's not that far away. And that was before the infrastructure bill passed. The average age of a welder is 55 years old. And right now, Long and ourselves are looking for those people who want to change the market, who can help change the market to reduce risk and cost while saving time with kitchen exhaust. So we don't have time today for engaging Q&A, and we wish we did. But right now, just make sure you put your questions in the chat or reach out to Long after the event. And we'll begin by putting this into some context with product and code. The function of a grease duct system in commercial cooking operations is it's a pathway to remove the heat, the grease-laden vapors, and the smells associated with cooking. Now, there are a lot of components to the exhaust system. We're going to talk specifically today about just the duct. Now, our product line happens to have 4 double wall products and 1 single wall product, and that's important because grease duct is more than zero clearance in stainless steel. And when you look at the product, you're talking about, for double wall products, an inner wall, an outer wall, and the insulation in between. And that varies. We also create a number of specialized parts to make installation and maintenance easy. And that includes adjustable and variable lengths when you don't know the exact length of a duct system. As far as code and grease duct, the code requires enclosed and fire rated chase, but there are some exceptions, and that's what we're talking about today. Prefab listed duct with fire wrap, rectangular field wrap. And all type 1 hoods require grease duct. As far as standards, there's the UL 1978 standard, and this is a containment standard, and it is meant to make sure that that ductwork will survive a fire within the ductwork. There's also UL 2221, which is a containment and an engulfment standard, and it is testing to make sure that the ductwork not only contains the fire, but if the fire is actually outside the ductwork in the restaurant or in the kitchen, that ductwork will not fail, releasing grease into the space, into the fire, and causing flashover, which is a tremendous issue for first responders. Time for a little commercial break. This is sponsored by We Told You So. I spent about 16 years with the Society of Fire Protection Engineers, and their motto, their wisdom is codes are the least you can do before they send you to jail. And in an application like a kitchen exhaust, we want to make sure that we do what is required for the application, not just the minimum code. They leak, we don't, and that's the number one issue. And there's plenty of benefits for everyone. Everyone wins. First issue is leaks. And we've gone to some experts, some third parties outside our organization. We asked them, what percentage of ductwork leaks? And their answers are 90%. The Don Federer study is an excellent study. He tested 244 systems, 89.3% leaked. They leaked after a water test, after they had been tested and passed smoke and light test. And if you want to read more about that, we have a white paper on our landing page. Grease duct inspecting for liquid tight requires water test. And when it comes to leaks, it can happen throughout the life cycle. It can happen at installation, and that means the system will fail inspection. It can happen during operations, ruin the aesthetics, smells get in tenant spaces, rodent and insect infestations, and in cleaning. Water, chemicals, ceiling damage, and mold. Restaurant owners are very sensitive to the ceiling damage issue. And lastly, a fire event. If there's a leak in the ductwork and that grease spreads to the structure, that fire could be catastrophic. Here's a picture of a grease duct leak, and you can see that there's plenty of grease there and the water damage to ceiling tiles. And that's a picture of the grease inside a rectangular duct. And you can imagine if we've got a leaky grease duct and this stuff gets outside that ductwork, you've got a serious problem. When it comes to, well, how many fires are we talking about? There are about 31,700 cooking fires per year. The cooking fires are the number one reason for non-residential fires, and they're equal to the 2, 3, and 4 reasons combined. Grease duct fires are a very violent event. This is a restaurant at TGIF in a metro area. You can see that that fire is about 60 feet tall. And any restaurant, any kitchen can have a grease duct fire. It can be a barbecue shack on a dirt road, or it can be Wolfgang Puck's place at the MGM. And the issue is not just the fire, but it's the business disruption after the event. Let's talk a little bit about the impact of a small kitchen exhaust fire. Here are small kitchen exhaust fires in 4 different restaurants, and you can see the month closed ranged from 3 to 15. The employees out of work was significant. The duct and fire repair cost was significant. But what is really amazing is the revenue loss being out of pocket for 3 to 15 months. So why does it take so long for a restaurant to get back in business? Well, one of the reasons is investigation of the fire. Insurance is not going to be a quick process. Then you have the design, construction, inspection process, re-permitting, and there'll probably be litigation. There is a human cost to these fires too. It takes a long time to reopen, if they ever reopen. And these are family businesses. Even the corporate restaurants are run like family businesses. And the restaurant owner, who's often a chef, does not have a background in construction. This is not what he does. So why does security factory build grease duct? Why does it not leak? Well, it's built in a factory. We got availability of quality welders, climate-controlled environment, QC inspections, factory testing, optimized processes and repetition, machine and laser welds, and the workspace itself. But the other reason is because we have a redundant joint, a no-leak sleeve that prevents leaks. So it's redundant leak prevention, which is a big thing in fire protection. It makes the install easy, and it's durable over the life cycle of code-required cleanings. It's a huge benefit for the owner installer, and it's an exclusive to our product. What you've got below is a picture of rectangular duct and what that weld looks like after years of code-required cleaning. That's a pretty big leak right there. Everybody wins with prefab grease duct: the owner, the installer, the engineer, the general contractor, the AHJ. I think we mentioned this, but there's more work than quality welders. Also, grease duct, prefab grease duct will survive a fire. And we've got a nice case study for you if you want to learn more about how a restaurant can survive a grease duct fire because the factory built duct does its job. We've got that on our landing page. Nice thing about round duct is there's no corners for grease to accumulate. And it's that grease accumulation which helps drive the fire. So since any application can have a fire, we need to pay special attention on applications so we can reduce the probability and the consequences of a fire if it does occur. And those probability and consequences have to do with population proximity to the kitchen, entertainment complexes, historic districts, solid fuel cooking. When business disruption is a serious, catastrophic financial situation, our biggest jobs are actually manufacturing facility cafeterias. Any outside vertical duct run, ghost and virtual kitchens, all great applications to reduce the probability and the consequences of a fire. So let's talk a little bit about design best practices. Most important thing is to get us the right info. Does it fit? What's the size of the hole? How does slope impact it? And preventing problems. All about design. There's 2 methodologies, RACCC and the decision tree. RACCC is routing, aesthetics, code, clearance to combustibles, and connections. And to get the right product for the application, if you give the designer this information, you will get the right product for the application at the lowest cost. And why we need all this information? Because prefab grease duct is more than stainless outer wall and 0 clearances. We also have a design checklist. And the questions and decisions that the designer and you guys need to come up with is, what's the outer wall, code and clearance, and diameter and layout options? Why are these important? Well, if you switch from a stainless outer wall to a galvalume outer wall because you have no aesthetics because the ductwork is above a ceiling or behind a wall, you're going to save 12 to 17% on the total bill of material. If you match the clearance to the clearance requirement, you're going to save anywhere from 6 to 63%. Great savings. You can always mix and match stainless steel and galvalume outer walls or different clearances. And sometimes just a small tweak in the layout can also save big bucks as well. When it comes to more construction decisions, will it fit? And what is the scheduled completion date? Now, these are actually reasons why not to use prefab grease duct. If it doesn't fit, don't use it. And if you have a completion date that can't be met with a prefab grease duct manufacturing, then it's not time to use those products. What you need to know about space is the greater the insulation, the smaller the duct opening, and the greater diameter, the more insulation required. As far as cleanouts and access, this is a huge, huge issue, so important over the life cycle of the product. You need to let the designer know if this is NFPA or IMC because the requirements are different. As slope, for horizontal run, slope reduction is, it reduces the buildup of the grease, as does round duct in general. And factory built grease duct by code shall be permitted to be installed at a lesser slope, which is 4 times less than the rectangular duct. And when you look at that, you'll see that though the height of the rectangular duct is an advantage in the beginning of a system, the increase or decrease slope requirement for prefab makes that advantage the longer the horizontal run. And it looks like about 28, 30 feet. There's a crossover between the two. Best practices for install. Don't use welders to spread sealing. Use technicians, assistants, people like that, and don't use your expensive, hard to find welders. Don't cost your welders when you're costing out the product because you're just not going to need them. And lastly, do your homework. And prefab grease duct is something where if you do a little bit of homework up front, you're going to save 40, 50, 60% of your time on site. To prevent problems before orders, walk the job site. Make sure that the drawings that were provided to the designer are correct, and make sure that there were no changes after the drawings were provided. And we're looking at you, sprinkler contractors, to make sure those preventing problems before orders, just make sure those two things are taken into account. Another commercial for you from our good friends at the International Kitchen Equipment Exhaust Cleaning Association. We love these guys. Liquid leak test is the way to go. It must be liquid tight. That's going. We're a big fan of grease duct inspecting. For liquid tight requires a water test. To get more information and resources, connections, go to securitygreaseduct.com landing page or go to Team Long. That's really what you want to do. Got some great information on the landing page to begin your self-education. If you have questions, put it in the chat or reach out to us. It's a plug and play world. And if there's innovations out there, there's a better solution, it's time to find it. So if you want to be those happy consulting engineers and installing contractors, find a project, self-educate, reach out to our good friends at Long. And right now I'm asking you guys, who has a job we can work on together? Thank you very much for your time, guys. Look forward to working with you and helping change the market to reduce risk and cost while saving time, kitchen exhaust. Prefab's the answer. They leak, we don't, and that's the #1 issue. Plenty of benefits, everyone wins, and we live, design, and install best practices. Once again, thank you very much.